Welcome to the webinar. My name is Jeffrey Goodman, and I'm going to begin with some discussion about vision. Every one of us has a vision, and the question is, how conscious can we be, or how conscious can I be of the vision I have inside of me? How much of a role can I play in the world we are living in? Can we be conscious of the role we are playing? And can we see ways to be helpful to ourselves and others? We're talking about a long-term view of what would success mean, and formulating that as a vision statement, a clear description of the future we would like to see and live in. We're all here for similar but different reasons, so not all of what you will hear from me in this little presentation will be relevant to you. I'm going to talk about science because some people get very excited about that part of what we are doing. If I'm able to communicate with you something of the reasons why we are as excited as we all are, then this meeting will be a success. This may or may not be something you're interested to do with us. It might not be a fit for you. But by the end of the evening, by the end of this webinar, you should have some clarity about what we're up to. We feel that it's possible for us to do something that's going to change the world. We can do things in our own lives that will certainly affect our lives, and beyond that, the world in some very significant ways. That is the vision we have for this, and the context in which we are doing this is aging. Now, obviously, we are all going on through life, and when we do, we are aging, and the effect of aging on us is degenerative. What we now know is that the effect of aging, the degeneration that aging brings, the cost of that to the healthcare system is equal to the cost of everything else combined. So that's the context in which this conversation is taking place. And this conversation we're having is about a new technology which actually came as a result of the Human Genome Project. With the Human Genome Project, there was the development of our ability to measure biological activity. We now have the ability to measure individual genes, to measure the activity levels of individual genes. With that, we have the ability to know things that we previously could not with the same level of exactness. In order to highlight all this and show how it is relevant, we're going to watch a short movie. This movie is about your health and the economic impact of aging.
Throughout human history, the newest generation has always greatly outnumbered the oldest. That's about to change. In less than a decade, people over the age of 65 will outnumber children under the age of 5 in 20 years. 1 in 4 individuals will be over 60. This may not sound like a big deal now, but the implications are global, financial, and social catastrophe. Healthcare costs rise dramatically with age. 5 years ago, long-term non-communicable diseases cost the United States $1.3 trillion. By 2013, they'll cost $2.4 trillion. By 2023, $4.1 trillion per year. An overwhelming majority of these costs are attributed to age-related conditions, and this is happening all over the globe. Chronic age-related disorders account for the majority of healthcare costs for the entire developed world. Even in low and middle income countries, these diseases already equal the costs of all injuries, communicable, maternal, perinatal, and nutritional conditions combined. Ironically, our success in treating these age-related diseases has added to our financial burden. Although advancements in treatments help us live longer with these diseases, we pay for them longer as well. However, lost productivity, not treatment, is the biggest issue by far. The loss in U.S. productivity due to these conditions is 4 times greater than the direct cost of treating the conditions themselves. Even more concerning, a growing elderly population will dramatically alter the ratio between the elderly and the working people supporting them. Today, China has 9 workers supporting every 1 elder. In 15 years, they will only have 5. In 30 years, it will be less than 3. In Western Europe, only 2. this can't work. And yet, if we didn't have to lose our functionality, our independence in our later years, a larger elderly population would not be cause for grave economic concern. So what is the problem? The diseases? They are only the symptoms. And treating them by slowing them down and prolonging them is not the long-term solution. The problem is why we eventually become frail and more susceptible to diseases in the first place. Scientists now know that negative changes begin to accumulate in the body from the moment we're born. These changes accumulate as a byproduct of our living, eating, and breathing every day, and remain relatively harmless until they reach a certain threshold, where frailty, dysfunction, and disease become inevitable. Encouragingly, researchers are finding ways to reverse these undesired changes. These breakthroughs will eventually enable us to restore and maintain the body's ability to repair itself and reverse age-related loss of functionality. Scientists agree that if we can continue on the current path, we will get it done in about 50 to 100 years' time. Here's the thing. Countdown to global financial and social catastrophe, 20 to 30 years. Countdown to significantly restoring functionality, 50 to 100 years. We don't have that much time. What if an extraordinary solution was possible? A global collaboration of unprecedented magnitude to benefit all mankind. A committed partnership of governments, organizations, and individuals fully funded and united in one single effort to sufficiently restore age-related loss of functionality in 20 years' time. The savings would vastly exceed the cost. How much is too much to spend now to save $4.3 trillion in the future every year in the U.S. alone? Can we afford not to try?
Okay, come on back now, and let's talk about what the movie suggested. Everyone who watches that feels the impact, and I'm not going to try to prove anything which was presented in the movie. The link is available for you to watch on YouTube, so you can go back and watch it again. Let's talk about science. What makes science science? There are lots of different kinds of science, but most important thing to understand about scientists is that they have a constant dialogue about the research they are doing, and they are checking each other's work. What I would like to communicate to you is that our company is a science-based company. Nu Skin Enterprises has a division called Pharmanex. Pharmanex was created prior to being purchased by Nu Skin. It was created to take health to a higher level, with the application of advanced science and technology to nutrition and the use of natural supplements. Now, I heard this when I met Dr. Joe Chang. Joe Chang is the scientist who was most significantly responsible for the creation of Pharmanex. In 2009, when I was introduced to him, I shared that I thought the name of his company was very clever, the ex-Pharmamen, Pharmanex, because he and the scientists that he had gathered together all had stellar careers in the pharmaceutical industry prior to the formation of Pharmanex. Now, fortunately for me, Joe has a great sense of humor, and so he was not insulted. And more importantly for me, what he said was, the name was chosen to be reflecting of our company mission, which was to be the next generation pharma. Pharmanex is an international collaboration of scientists. What does that look like? An international collaboration of scientists. For us, that means 75 in-house scientists and a network of relationships and research facilities that extends all over the world. We have an advisory board. This is like the board of directors for a business, but with the purpose of guiding scientific research. These are people we go to that tell us, yes, that makes sense, or maybe not so much. The best of the best, literally leaders in their respective fields of research, sit on our scientific advisory board. And these scientists are all working together to look for answers to the problems which that movie was about. But if you were to come to this webinar not knowing any of us, what reasons would you have, what reasons would you find for this story I'm sharing with you to be true? How could you know that I or anyone else who might stand up here in front of you is telling you anything that is true? If it's science, that means peer review. This is from a website, senseaboutscience.org, a charitable trust that equips people to make sense of scientific and medical claims in public discussion. This quote is from their site. In one of their little booklets it says, "When a researcher or team of researchers finishes a stage of work, they usually write a paper presenting their methods, findings, and conclusions. They then send the paper to a scientific journal to be considered for publication. If the journal's editor thinks it's suitable for their journal, they send the paper to other scientists who research and publish in the same field, asking them to comment on its validity, significance, and originality, give an opinion as to whether the paper should be published, improved, or rejected. This process is called peer review." So the point here is that any one of you could go home tonight and look at science on the internet. And once you understand what it is, then you will recognize that science on the internet is different than what you typically find if you go in through Google or some bit of news that you find on the internet. But don't worry, you don't need to understand the science we're talking about here to be able to take advantage of what we're doing, what we have available for us now already. You don't need to know how to make a car to drive one. This website is the NCBI, the National Center for Biotechnology Information, a website created by the government. On the NCBI site, this is a science paper from a peer-reviewed journal, Frontiers in Genetics, and the article on this page was published January last year, 2012. This is available on the internet there. What I want to point out to you is that the editor of this article is Jamie Barger, who is one of the 3 principal partners for LifeGen Technologies, a company that did pioneering research that led to the field of epigenetics as a science. We now own that company, LifeGen Technologies. The research which they did with the use of gene measuring technology, 30 years of data, we now have available to us for the study of aging and what we can do about it. And this article was reviewed by Angela Maslotis, who did her PhD work at the Linus-Pauling Institute on antioxidants and is one of our Nu Skin scientists. It was published with correspondence to Modifiable Risk Factors branch of the National Cancer Institute. That is where you would write if you had a comment to make on the research presented in this article. So what's this paper about? Every scientific paper begins with an abstract, usually a statement about the subject matter for the article, what the research was about. The first sentence here reads, "Epigenetics is the study of heritable, as in inheritable, changes in gene expression that occur without a change in DNA sequence." You do not need to understand what this means. The point of this slide here is that we're looking at a peer-reviewed paper. Our company is doing peer-reviewed science, and this is what it looks like on the internet. And this particular article, Epigenetic Contributions to the Relationship Between Cancer and Dietary Intake of Nutrients, Bioactive Food Components, Environmental Toxicants, has been reviewed and published on the internet. Here on the right side, where you might typically see advertisements, what you see is a partial list of references and related citations. And this article here is stuck in here with all other related science papers on the internet on this website maintained by the government. You don't need to understand the science we're looking at here. The point is that it is science that we're talking about. These scientists, we have in general this idea about scientists that what they're doing is pure objective work, that they are only interested in what is true about the subject. Well, that is true, but what is the point of scientific research if it's not put to use for anything of value for the benefit of people and the world we all live in? So the further question is how to take the science which we have, the knowledge that we have, and use it to the benefit of the community. And that is what our company is doing. This is our company, Nu Skin Enterprises, an industry leader with 29 years of experience in the business of providing personal health items, nutrition, skincare, and anti-aging products direct to consumers in 53 countries around the world. We could point to many reasons to believe that Nu Skin is a reputable company, but I would like to point to just a few particular ones. $2 billion is a lot of money. That is how much business we did last year. $2 billion worth of products purchased by people who are buying guaranteed products. $2 billion in sales means that our products are performing in the marketplace. They do what people expect them to do. And we've been doing that year after year, and right now we're in a period of rapid growth. We are heavily investing in building research facilities and bringing the science, what we now have available to us as a result of the Human Genome Project, to the world, meeting needs that people care very much about, for the benefit of any of you who would choose to take advantage of the science and the products that have been formulated with this technology. Fundamentally, what we are doing is putting this information into the hands of people and helping them find and purchase products that will change the equation for them, the equation that was spoken of at the beginning. Chronic age-related conditions are the number one health issue that we all face, the number one cost for health care for us individually through the course of our lives and as a community as a whole. These costs will, in the next few years and certainly over time, bankrupt our economy. And now we have in our hands the ability to do something very practical about these concerns. We are all in this together. With insurance, we're all paying for the care, even those of us who might be the healthier ones. With insurance, it is the healthy that pay for the care of the sick. This matter does concern us all. It really does. There are good reasons for us to look for solutions. If we don't do something about this, the result will be, individually and collectively, a disaster. We are heavily investing in laboratories and research to make this possible, to find practical solutions and make those available for the benefit of us all. $150 million invested in this building in Provo, a state-of-the-art facility for the study of aging and age-lock research. That building is in itself an amazing and impressive building, which I would encourage all of you to visit when you meet with the scientists and company leaders at one of our regular events. I should share, for those of you who do not know me, that I am an acupuncturist since 1998. My thesis was on acupuncture as a science, and I trained as an herbalist, trained in the use of Chinese medicine. The reason for sharing about myself is I know some things because of my education and training maybe you do not know. And this is relevant because we are building a state-of-the-art lab in Shanghai, China. You may not know this, but Chinese herbal medicine, in other words, the source of many of the materials we are working with, has 2,000 years of written history. That means in my clinic, as a Chinese medicine practitioner, I use ingredients that have been used for thousands of years safely and effectively. Chinese medicine theory is the basis for primary care in 25% of the world, and we're formulating products using ingredients that have already been used with a record of safety for hundreds to thousands of years. Now we're able to study them with this new gene measurement technology, and the result of this research is a product platform called AgeLock. Now AgeLock, essentially, it is the ability to measure, combined with the understanding of what you are measuring, and having the ability to measure the effects of the products you're formulating at the level of genes. Genes are the instructions that tell your body how to do everything that it does, and your genes can go out of tune. They will go out of tune like a piano sitting in a room. It will go out of tune even if you don't play it. It needs regular tuning to play well. What is extraordinary and patented that we have learned how to do, we have identified which genes are the critical ones that change, and as they change, we age. Does that make sense? We have an international collaboration of Western scientists, the Human Genome Project, and from the East, from Asian medicine, we are rebalancing. The ideal of Chinese medicine is to maintain or restore balance, yin and yang. As Dr. Chang said from the very beginning, it is not one gene, and it is not simply on or off, it is a number of genes working together. Some of them need to be turned up, others regulated down. We have identified which genes and have the ability to rebalance them to youthful levels of function. That's the genie in the bottle. Identify the targets, the genes we need to or we wish to affect, and then we do experiments, do experimental research. Are we able to affect those genes? We are using ingredients that have a history of hundreds to thousands of years of use. We know that they are safe, but now we have the ability to measure how the genes are affected. So in the case of, for example, our AgeLock Vitality product, we have 3 ingredients, a root, fruit, and fungus. The root is ginseng, the fruit is pomegranate, and the fungus is cordyceps. Now I've bought many hundreds of grams of cordyceps that I've used in my clinic. But what we know is that not every apple is going to be the same. Not every tomato is useful for the same purposes. There are differences. And it's also true that herbal ingredients don't work when they're not harvested properly, not ripe, or perhaps the wrong species. This is no different than what you know from buying groceries. Food must be ripe to be good. With our gene tests, we now have the ability to know what are the components to test for, which are the active ingredients, based on gene tests. And with our 6S quality control process, we know our products are made to exact specifications every batch, every time. So here is the take-home piece. Write this one down because you're going to be thinking about this. What did Google do? People are searching on the internet for information and they are asking questions. It takes a while after they ask the question to search the whole internet for a good answer. So why not figure out the questions and search for answers before they are needed, before they are asked? Then you will have the best answer and you will be able to deliver it faster. Our technology is something like Google for DNA. Now, we have already asked the question, what causes a person to age? Aging gene expression. We have identified all the genes that are metabolically changing that result in aging, the target genes that are related to aging. We have not yet formulated products for all those genes we have an interest in, but we have formulated several products, and these products are, as it were, proof of concept that these products work, people want them, and will buy them. Now, I must stop here for a moment and point out that this is patented, and I have a story to tell about patents. I graduated in 1998, and I was trained to use several hundred herbs in recipes that are thousands of years old and have been safe and effective for many millions of people for all those years. You may remember that there was a big issue that was made about ephedra back in 2004. People were using ephedra in dangerous ways, and it was taken off the market, along with 15% of all those herbs which I was trained to use. I was able to get them until then. These ingredients were removed from the market for no reason at all. They were simply removed from the supply to people like me because that is what the FDA saw fit to do. Because there were people who were abusing ephedra. And so some of those ingredients were ingredients that I used for some of my own personal health issues. So I was not really inclined to believe that the FDA and those people who were in the position to make decisions about the availability of my medicine had it in their mind as a priority to get good things people would like to use into the hands of the people. Because some of those things, herbs I wanted to use, they were important ingredients for my own health needs, and they were taken off the market. So when the Human Genome Project was underway, and that was back around the same time frame, there was a debate. I don't know if you remember this, but I do, about whether the information should be public or private, and what about patents, and who was going to have control of the information. Frankly, I was really concerned. In fact, I'll admit to my being a bit paranoid around this because of my experience. I thought that some company without the kind of values I had was going to get a patent on the human genome, and the result might be that they would do things I did not think good, or more to the point, importantly, truthfully, that they wouldn't do things that I thought we could do in service to humanity. You might be able to see how I could feel that way. Is it not ironic that I now represent the company that has taken this farthest in the service of all of us, and we have patents on what we know? I represent the company I was afraid of. That is just a personal story of my own life. But don't believe everything you think. On the other side of that equation is extraordinary things have been created with the information, way beyond what I might have imagined from what limited knowledge I had. I had very limited knowledge. Right, you don't know what you don't know yet. Unbelievable things are happening. If you're willing to do the work to investigate this, do the verification steps for yourself, because we're just giving you a high-level overview. What you will see is that what we are telling you, no matter how astonishing it is true, and you can take advantage of it. Over $1 billion worth of ageLOC products have been sold in the 3 years that they've been available. Our job is really very simple. We communicate the message to people that want to hear it. Everyone needs to hear it. These products address aging at the level of the genes. Some people are going to hear this and take action on it. Not only do we have the scientific understanding, the patented ability, and the necessity to do something about the situation, but what we are doing is well underway. Since 2009, $1 billion of ageLOC products, which address 4 different needs, have demonstrated the difference which is possible. What we are doing is growing, and it needs to grow. It needs to grow very rapidly. It needs to grow exponentially because that is the rate at which this problem is growing, and any solution to address a problem such as aging and degeneration will need to develop in an exponential way, faster than the problem is developing. Right now, we are a $2 billion company. Projections were that we would be a $5 billion company in 2020, but at the rate at which we're going to get there sooner. So in the presentations to Wall Street, they revised the projections forward and reduced the amount of time that it will take to reach 5 billion. Everyone has a reason to know about our age-locked products. Obviously, if this information is new to you, it can be very overwhelming, and this is a high-level introduction. We have resources available for you for whatever part of this story is of interest to you, whatever role you choose to play in what is underway. Take this as a thought experiment, not just about the product and whether it will work. Assume that it works and it is guaranteed to work. Let me point out that 75% of the wealth in the world is in the hands of the 65 and older. If we were to describe the older generation, our elders, they are the people with the most certain interest in our age-locked technologies. I want to thank everyone for watching our presentation on the intersection of the Human Genome Project with aging issues. My name is Jeffrey Goodman. I'm an acupuncturist. You can watch this presentation at globalmobilewellness.org. You can also contact me by email. My email address is networkofleaders@gmail.com.